The door opened by itself. That was the first sign we should have left. Not swung open dramatically, no creak, no gust of wind. It simply times withdrew, like something on the other side had been waiting with its hand on the knob, watching through the keyhole as we argued on the porch about whether to go in, watching, deciding, inviting. We went in anyway. The was mansion had been dead for 43 years, but death, I was about to learn, is not the same as empty. The smell hit us first, not the romantic decay of old wood and dust that you expect from abandoned places, but something times biological. Something that coated the back of your throat like a memory you couldn't swallow. Marcus pressed his sleeve against his nose. Priya's flashlight trembled in her grip. I told myself it was just the cold making my hands shake. I was very good at lying to myself back then. The darkness inside that mansion was wrong. Not the ordinary absence of light. You could hold your flashlight beam up and watch it get times tired, dimming and yellowing as though something in the air was drinking the brightness out of it. The wallpaper, once a rich burgundy, had peeled back from the walls in long strips that curled like the shed skin of something enormous. Beneath it, the plaster was black. Not with mold, we'd all seen mold before. This was something that had grown there deliberately in patterns, shapes that almost looked like hands. Almost. This place is incredible, Marcus whispered, setting up the EMF reader on the rotting foyer table. He was grinning. I'll never forget that grin, the last genuinely happy expression I ever saw on his face. The reader screamed to life immediately. Not a flutter, not a spike, a sustained, shrieking flat line of electromagnetic fury, as though every atom in the building was vibrating at a frequency human instruments were never meant to measure. Marcus tapped it. Could be faulty wiring? From somewhere deep inside the mansion, directly above us, came a single, deliberate footstep, then another, then silence. We stood absolutely still for 40 seconds. I counted. When you are that frightened, time becomes something you grip with both hands. Old buildings settle, Priya said. Her voice was perfectly steady. She was always the brave one. I think about that often. How the brave ones go first. We move deeper. We always move deeper. That's the particular stupidity of people who have never truly been afraid. We had watched too many ghost hunting shows, had grown up on horror films where the haunting was something times external, something you could capture on camera and then escape. We believed, in the most fundamental and fatal way, that we were the protagonists, that the story was ours. The mansion knew better. Room by room, the temperature dropped in increments, too precise to be natural, exactly 2 degrees per doorway, as though something was calibrating the cold for maximum effect, learning us, measuring the point at which fear becomes paralysis. Family portraits lined the hallways, and I made the mistake of looking at them closely. The Voss family posed in their Victorian finery, father, mother, 3 children, a grandmother seated rigidly in front. In the first portrait, they were looking at the painter. In the second portrait, further down the hall, they were looking at something slightly to the left. In the third, they were all looking directly at me. The grandmother was smiling. She had not been smiling in the first portrait. I went back and checked. Which tells you how desperately my brain was still trying to find the rational explanation, still constructing the story where we would drive home at 2 a.m. and laugh about this over cold coffee. When I turned back around, the hallway behind me was gone. Not dark, not blocked. Gone times replaced with a wall that the dust and cobwebs confirmed had been there for decades. I was alone. I heard Marcus first. His voice came from somewhere beneath the floor, small and strange, like a voice heard underwater. He was saying my name, not calling out, not screaming, just saying it over and over, the way a person does when they are trying to remind themselves that you exist. Then I heard Priya. She wasn't saying words. I ran or tried to. The floor had developed and opinion, times about where I was going, tilting almost imperceptibly, corridors bending in geometries that shouldn't have fit within the mansion's outer walls. I passed the same broken mirror 3 times. I passed a child's bedroom that was completely clean, untouched by time, a music box on the dresser, spinning slowly with no song, just the mechanism turning in silence, the comb dragging across pins that had all been removed. And then I heard it, not a groan of old timber, not settling foundations, or animal intrusion, or any of the other comfortable lies. A whisper, but times, the whisper was a voice, and inside that voice was something that had been whispering that same sentence for 43 years, wearing a groove into the air itself. You're already inside it now, not times the mansion, just times it. I didn't understand then. I understand now. The lights on all our equipment died simultaneously at 2:17 a.m. I know the exact time because my watch stopped at that moment and never moved again. The darkness that followed was absolute and times intentional. Times you could feel it pressing against your eyeballs, thick and purposeful. The darkness of something that had learned to hold its shape. They found Marcus first. He was on the 3rd floor, curled beneath a window, conscious but unreachable. He had torn his fingernails off. The doctor said later that this takes tremendous force, tremendous will. They said it quietly, looking at their clipboards, not at us. They found Priya in the basement. I will not tell you what she was doing. I will not tell you what was on the walls around her. Some information is a wound, and I have carried mine long enough without passing it on. They found me in the foyer, exactly where we'd started, by the door that had opened itself. Sitting cross-legged on the floor, I was told, eyes open, unresponsive. I had been there, in that position, for 6 hours. The responding officer said it looked like I had simply times been placed there, like something was done with me and had set me neatly aside. I don't remember any of it. That is the mercy I was given. That is the only mercy any of us received. Marcus is in a facility now, comfortable. They assure me. He doesn't speak, but sometimes he writes the same word repeatedly on whatever paper is available. The staff have stopped telling me what the word is. Priya recovered. That's what the paperwork says. Recovered. She lives alone now, keeps every light in her apartment burning through the night, and calls me sometimes at 3 a.m. to ask if I can still see them too, the shadows that don't belong to anything, the ones that move when everything else is still. I tell her no. I have become, it seems, a very good liar. The Voss mansion still stands. There was talk of demolishing it, but the construction crew refused after the first day. Every one of them, without discussion or coordination, they simply put down their equipment and drove away, and none of them would explain why. On certain nights, people in the surrounding town report hearing sounds from the direction of the mansion, not screams. People always romanticize it as screams. Those who have actually heard it describe something quieter, more patient. A whisper, they say, asking them to come closer, telling them the door is already open. I know, because some nights, in the part of my mind I can't lock anymore, I can still hear it whispering to me too. The same thing it said when it finally let me go. You left something behind. I think it meant my fear. I think it kept it. I think it's been feeding ever since.